We have the most pro-life speaker in the country, Elijah Har, had a wonderful line in his introductory speech to the body, and he has really backed that up. So the bill does kind of, instead of all of this piecemeal, it says, you know what, we're going to take a big shot, we're going to do a moonshot, we're going to do everything we can to protect every child in the state. So bans abortions when there's heartbeats and brain waves at 8 weeks. If for some reason that's overturned, there's a 14-week ban based on the undue burden meant to withstand legal challenge. If that gets overturned, there's an 18-week. If that gets overturned, there's a 20-week. There's added provisions to make sure that both parents are on board if there's ever a child who's a minor who's wanting to obtain an abortion, increases medical malpractice, protects, we have children surviving abortions, make sure that there's money there in case they're harmed during that process. Shamed Jogan had a big amendment on to protect people with adverse diagnoses, specifically Down syndrome.
That is Missouri State Representative Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and she was speaking a few years ago about all the plans and people that are in place within the state to further restrict women's right to choose. So now that it's 2022, that was 2019, she's come up with an amendment that she's placed on a few bills to actually implement something that's even more radical than the things that she was talking about there. Now she wants to limit women's ability to travel lawfully to other states to do whatever the hell they want with their life. So let's go to some of the details of what she's proposing, what she's actually then added to a couple of these bills. It's an unusual new provision. It's introduced by, as I mentioned, Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and it would allow private citizens to sue anyone who helps a Missouri resident obtain an abortion out of state, using the novel legal strategy behind the restrictive law in Texas that since September has banned abortions in that state after 6 weeks of pregnancy. So quoting her, if your neighboring state doesn't have pro-life protections, it minimizes the ability to protect the unborn in your state, is what she said. Who said she's been trying to figure out how to crack down on out-of-state abortions because, you know, she works in out-of-states. You represent Missouri. Okay, so moving on to more about this, because there's some border states around Texas that have seen an influx in the number of people that have gone there for their services because of, as I mentioned, what's happening in Texas. So demands for abortions have skyrocketed in Oklahoma, Louisiana, New Mexico, and other nearby states to Texas. Planned Parenthood clinics in states that border Texas reported that patient traffic increased by nearly 800%, and independent providers reported comparable increases. So Coleman, back to Coleman up in Missouri, she said that she hopes that her amendment will thwart efforts by Missourians to cross state lines for abortions. The measure would target anyone even tangentially involved in an abortion performed on a Missouri resident. That includes hotline staffers who make the appointments, the marketing representatives who advertise out-of-state clinics, and the Illinois and Kansas-based doctors who handle the procedure. So her amendment would also make it illegal to manufacture, transport, possess, or distribute abortion pills in Missouri. And this is her quote about what it is that she's doing and why this is such an important thing for her. It's just tragic, is what she said, for some of the Missouri residents who go to get abortions in Illinois. It feels very sad and heavy, Ray. It's very sad and heavy. So let's go ahead and restrict people's rights. These are states' rights Republicans, by the way. States' rights.
I mean, it's like really disgusting to me. I mean, as a woman, I mean, I'm lucky I live in Illinois, right? It's a state where I know my right to abortion is going to be protected. But I mean, just the ways in which the Republican Party has planned this for, I mean, decades and are now enacting their plan. I mean, it should be sort of like a lesson for the left, if anything, that, you know, the GOP is really well organized. Of course, they're really well funded by billionaires in a way that we aren't. But you know, I think that we need to be just as organized for the just causes, because I mean, this is a heinous piece of legislation. But I mean, it's not like this hasn't been in the works for a while. But just to talk about this legislation a little bit, I don't think that there's any way, shape, or form that it could withstand a legal challenge. They don't have the jurisdiction to charge these doctors, these out-of-state doctors, for performing these. But what it will do is have a chilling effect. Be out of fear of getting, having repercussions because of this law. These, particular Illinois abortion providers that are on the border of Missouri might not be providing these services out of fear of getting sued and out of fear of lawsuits. So it's horrifying, but like, yeah, just to hear them talk about how this is to save lives. This will kill people. This will kill pregnant people in Missouri because, restricting access to abortion doesn't mean there's less abortions. It just means there's less safe abortions.
Now, again, I mentioned how there's the states' rights groups, except for when it comes to things that they'd like to push on folks. I mean, there's people who travel across state lines and kill people in other states, and they go, "That's great," because as long as you're backing some kind of political movement that they would like, then that's what they're okay with. So there was pushback, and people respond to this very strongly. And I did come across this older ad from Midas Touch, which seemed at the time, I remember when I saw this for a quick second when it happened, a bit over the top, maybe making sure that we don't get to this point, because that could happen at some point in a long-standing future that we may never see ourselves, because maybe it'll be 60, 70, 80 years from now. But actually it looks a little bit more accurate now. Let's watch this ad from Midas Touch.
Listen, everything's gonna be okay, right? Just let me do the talking, okay? Just
Evening, ladies. License, please. Where are you headed?
We were just out for a drive.
Headed to the border?
Oh, no, we were just going up to the.
Hey there. What's your name?
Grace.
Are you pregnant, Grace? Step out of the vehicle.
She does not have to.
Yes, she does.
No.
Show me your hands on the wheels, please. Grace, step out of the vehicle on the wheel.
Grace, it's okay.
Again, like the bill says, they're going after anyone. It could be someone driving you, it could be a marketing representative, it could be a person who takes the phone call and sets the appointment. Again, they spread it to this many different people. I'll say her name again, Mary Elizabeth Coleman, spreading this to this many people so they can scare them into it, because she did also say, don't forget, Missouri already has some some of the most restrictive policies when it comes to women's rights already. So she's like, I'm not comfortable with that. This is what she was saying. I'm not comfortable with our restrictive policies already. That's already chilled so many people from having their rights. But we need to go further. When is far enough?
Yeah, and I just want to say, just to get it out there, I think that legislator is vile, murderous scum and disgusting. But the idea, like you mentioned, that they'll go after everyone, right? But they won't. This law doesn't include the person who gets an abortion, and that's very intentional because it's a lot easier to sell this if you're not criminalizing the person who's getting an abortion, right? Because of course the impact of the legislation is that they can't get an abortion regardless. But once you're putting that person in handcuffs, then like that ad just showed, it becomes a lot more unviable and untenable to sell to the public versus just saying, we're not gonna hold that person accountable. Maybe they made some decisions in life and they're in an unfortunate situation. We're just gonna hold everyone else accountable, which if they actually thought abortion was murder would be a ridiculous way to implement their plan to stop abortion. It's just ideologically unsound. But yeah, it's just a way to market it to the public, but it will have the exact same effect on the person trying to get the abortion. They won't be able to do it because they're holding everyone else, legally accountable.